Pull up in motorcades. I got a show today. It's all I'm trying to do. Hustle and motivate. Choppers a throwaway. Hustle the overweight. That's why they follow me, huh? They think I know the way.
What's good, y'all?
Hello.
Kenneth Berry here.
It's Serve.
Intern Serve. Touchdowns and tangents. This isn't a somber episode. I just felt like we really needed to come into Hustle and Motivate just for one more week.
Yes.
And personally, that's the part of the song I wanted to play last week. So, yeah, please don't flag this for copyright infringement because it's Nip, and we all love Nip. But anyway, so Pete, he had to handle his business, so he's not here this week. But we are going to run through a bunch of stuff. He honestly gave an he put in an immaculate rundown. So shout out to Pete. We give each other a lot of shit, as brothers do.
Yes, you guys do. Excuse me. A lot.
Like, a lot. And honestly, the fights that we have via text message, that honestly, I feel like if we were face-to-face, it wouldn't be a fight. Because, like, you'd be able to understand the tone in someone's voice when they said it. I feel like that's just how most of our fights start. Like, somebody says something, and then somebody, like, takes offense to it. Mainly, I'm talking about myself a little bit, projecting just a little bit, just a smidget. But
are you gonna miss it today?
Nah, not really. Honestly, like, I haven't had a day off in like a month, and I'm like 4 weeks away from graduation, and I'm so ready to quit one of my jobs. Not the one that I get like 40 hours a week, but the one that I've worked at for like 2.5 years. I'm dead ass tired. Like, I'm ready for it to be over. I'm this close. I literally have no time to do my homework or sleep. So I need my Mondays and Tuesdays back. But anyway, even though I didn't get my Monday and Tuesday, I definitely, and not to steal from the Get Right, but I almost got left. Shit. This Antonio Brown situation between him and Juju Smith-Schuster, the pettiness, the subtweeting, the sub-posting, the pictures, like, honestly, that shit is magical to me, personally. I just want to say, I think it was Rick Ross who said it, when idols become rivals. It's really interesting. Because watching Juju Smith-Schuster come from Long Beach Poly, to where everybody thought he was going to just always be a safety, because he's smacking the hell out of people, to being one of the top athletes in the country, to pretty much working so hard as a freshman that they had to play him at receiver when everybody thought he was just going to be a shoo-in at safety. The fact that he ended up becoming All-American wide receiver, makes it to the league, and then you see this Instagram post or Twitter pic that had pretty much a DM of essentially AB getting a DM from Juju Smith-Schuster when he was still at USC, pretty much asking him, hey, what can I do to take my game to the next level? Now, this was backlash from a tweet that Antonio Brown sent that was kind of a reaction to a post that Juju Smith-Schuster had, pretty much saying that Ben Roethlisberger was a great teammate, this, that, and the third. And AB was like, I'm not going to take the high road on this one. I'm going to say what some of us were actually, and honestly what some of those memes have been calling out for a while. He pretty much tweeted out, like, this boy fumbled away our playoff hopes, and he won team MVP. And he said some other stuff, but pretty much that was the gist of it. Like, that's what stung. That he's like, this dude really had the audacity. One, I was getting all the double teams. Pretty much what he was saying. Like, I was the number one receiver. I got all the double teams. But this dude fumbles away our season and then gets voted team MVP. And if you really look back and think about it, Juju Smith-Schuster fumbled away their season. Now, personally...
So is it... I was trying to follow. So did he acknowledge the QB right for the Steelers?
Ben Roethlisberger, yeah. He
Yes.
pretty much said
I can't say his last name. That's why I said the QB.
Ben Roethlisberger. Shout out to Andrew Martinez. Shout out to the homie Andrew. He said Juju will have a better career than AB. Andrew, go lay down. I know it's late on the East Coast, but I need you to go lay down.
But
that's wild.
But did he he shouted him out, but didn't shout out AB, so AB got offended, or did he when he shouted out the QB, he also dissed AB?
See, here's the thing, and this is kind of nuanced, but it's the way he forced his way out of Pittsburgh. You kind of have to just know that there's going to be bad blood there.
Right.
And the fact that he was just the number one receiver for so long. And then Juju comes in, and Big Ben he forced the ball to Juju a lot. That's why he had over 100 receptions. He forced the ball to Juju a lot. Even when Antonio Brown was open. Now, there's a bunch of different layers to this. Because, okay, I'm going to just read off the tweet. Because I really want people to marinate on this. Because at the time, Antonio Brown didn't say anything when all that turmoil on the team was happening and the Le'Veon Bell situation. But he tweeted, and I quote, and it was a picture of the 2018 Steelers' most valuable player, Juju Smith-Schuster. And he retweeted, he quoted a retweet from Steelers Steve. He said, he was replying to him. He said, emotion. Boy fumbled the whole postseason in the biggest game of the year. Apostrophe. Everyone went blind to busy making guys famous. Not enough reality these days. By the way, check the list. So pretty much, let's just say this. Antonio Brown won Team MVP for a hell of a lot of years for the Steelers. And the fact that Juju kind of won one, and yeah, has less character issues, seen as a nicer guy, a better team guy. It really just boiled down to people like Juju better, so they're going to take his side. And the Steelers locker room, especially, I'm tired of bum-ass Ramon Foster and Marquise Pouncey, they're still talking. They're like, any beefs you have with current Steelers players, come to me or Marquise Pouncey, and we can handle it away from the media. And my thing is, where was all this energy when Le'Veon Bell was on the team and y'all were raiding his locker publicly while he was trying to negotiate a bag for himself and his family? That's why the Steelers are fake, and that's why that team is just kind of soft, because there's a lot of questionable manhood choices that are going on. Like, you have all this smoke for Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, but nobody's criticizing Ben. And also, we can't just admit that, Juju is that perfect distraction and the total opposite of AB. But he's nowhere near the talent of an Antonio Brown. He was better coming out of college, but there was one alpha on that team, and it was Antonio. Juju Smith was a great number 2, but he wasn't there yet. Now, Juju went on to say, all I ever did was show that man love and respect from the moment I got to the league. I was genuinely happy for him, too, when he got traded to Oakland with a big contract, and now he takes shots at me on social media. Crazy how big that ego got to be to take shots at people who show you love. Shaking my head. Now, he also said keep your emotions off the internet. Again, which is interesting because Juju's had posts when he choked away the game about his emotions, and it was on the internet. So, there's a lot going on drama-wise. I'm still Team AB, but I really think that him sharing that DM of Juju Smith-Schuster when he was at USC, reaching out to him that was trash. Like, it didn't do anything. It was dumb. It's like, oh, you didn't, you probably gave him some tips. We don't know if you even did. But that's just whack to do. It's like, it'd be one thing if, Michael Jordan was dropping, he said, yeah, Kobe used to be like, oh, Michael, I'm your biggest fan. Could you teach me how to be a better basketball player? I think in the NBA it would be looked at worse, but it's because it's the NFL and there's so many different positions and so many different people.
Right.
It's kind of lame, and it's like just in the real world, if you leak the DM like that to somebody, like let's say you're trying to get ahead in your field, and someone just leaks a DM of when you were young and on the come up, trying to get better.
I think that would be petty. I think that's petty. Like I think that's like a low blow, and I think it's kind of like an ego problem. Like you just want to make yourself seem like this big guy, like, oh, I'm untouchable, and everybody, you know, like even this guy came up to me when he was younger, trying to look up to me. So, I mean, I think that was a low blow. I mean, he could have thrown shots, you know, any other way, but to bring that up and kind of like throw it in his face, it's like, yo, that's what anybody would do, you know what I mean, if you're on the come up. So like, why would you fault him for that? Wouldn't you want to encourage it? But I, like you said, I think that was kind of a low blow. So I mean, it sounds petty. It sounds like a lot of drama for it to be this like sport, this NFL manly sport. It's kind of funny, like going back and forth.
Plot twist. We're all just petty children at the end of the day. But on the flip side of all that, Le'Veon Bell was posting a conversation we had with James Conner, running back for the Steelers, who eventually took his spot when he was gone, and they got mad love for each other. It's all good. It's just funny how that kind of works. Like, Antonio Brown had reason on the way out the door to be mad. Because, let's be honest, if you go back and look at a lot of the film, Big Ben lost some games with some costly, stupid, horrible plays. Just go look at the Jacksonville game. Antonio Brown almost single-handedly won them games and has Hall of Fame numbers right now. And he probably still has like another 5 years of being dominant. So, it's kind of sad. It's kind of whack that it's gone this far. But I'm still Team Antonio Brown. And he's a Raider. So this is kind of like when Hulk Hogan was in the NWO talking mad trash. I refuse to say the Bret Hart one, because Bret Hart got attacked at the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony by some loser, and everybody hopped in the ring and beat his ass. It was hilarious. Like, all you see is Ronda Rousey's husband, Travis Brown. That dude's like 6'7", just dog pounding the guy's face into the mat. And like, Davey Boy, I think it was Bret Hart's nephew or whatever, or son-in-law, whatever, something like that. Well, he's a member of the Hart family. He goes in and he starts, and he's the son of the British Bulldog, for those of y'all who are wrestling fans. He just pummels the guy's face. So, yeah. And also, no one likes to talk about Bret Hart's WCW run, because it was really terrible. Hopefully not like Antonio Brown's run in Oakland. Hopefully it's not really terrible. And hopefully it's not, like, really terrible, like, shit, I lost my train of thought. Hopefully, this episode isn't terrible. So, yeah. Anyway. On to the next topic. Aaron Rodgers. We're going to save the NFL draft stuff for a little bit. But Aaron Rodgers, this was too good to pass up. In another episode of As NFL Teams Stay Petty, Aaron Rodgers comes out. He's playing with the injured MCL and a concussion. He's like, McCarthy should be respected. If I hated McCarthy so much, why did I resign? And pretty much he just says the same old tired, bitter players are taking shots at me yet again. Now, if the same people are taking shots at you after a long period of time, and there's some truth to the shots, is it petty, Serve?
Say that one more time. I was trying to read the article. Say that one more time.
No, it's cool. So if someone is throwing shots at you for a long time, and they're in the minority, now you come out and say, like, look, y'all been taking shots at me forever. It's getting old. It's just bitter, and it's not true. But there's some truth to what they're saying, some of your detractors. At one point, is it just them being petty, or is it you just using your influence in the media? Because of you have obviously, you're Aaron Rodgers. you've had a longer career, more longevity, you're better, and the guys talking about you are washed up, or quote unquote washed up players who are out of the league. Where do you draw that line?
I mean, washed up players, like
former teammates.
I mean, at that point, I think it's just. I do think it's just like hate. I think it's just people just keep running their mouth. Like, I don't know, because are these people that are throwing shots at him, are they still playing?
No, that's the thing. Some of them are unnamed sources. One of them is Jermichael Finley. Another guy was Deshaun Harris. I think he's still in the league. He's a running back. And former receiver Greg Jennings, who was a Pro Bowl receiver. His like number one go-to target for like 4 years.
I mean, to me, it just sounds like a bunch of hate. It does. I mean, like, there's a lot of trolls out there, and when you are well respected, like a lot of people, you know, they gotta hate. So I think that's what it sounds like to me. I don't know. What do you think?
I would have to go on and say that.
You think there's some truth to what they're saying?
There's definitely some truth to it, because those young receivers that he had, Valdez Scantling, Cormier St. Brown, Jamon Moore, who were kind of injured, but those guys really just didn't get any touches or any love towards the end of the season. At one point, Valdez Scantling was averaging like 23 yards a catch. He was doing really good for a rookie 7th-round pick. And those kids are talented. Like, those are some talented young receivers that they could build with. But Aaron Rodgers wasn't connecting with them, so we just assumed that it's the receiver's fault. And then the story that came out, it's already said, like, yeah, if you sided with McCarthy and your position coach, Aaron Rodgers would ice you out. And it's like, if you're going to ice me out and the coaches think I'm doing bad and they think it's my fault, like, I'm in a no-win situation.
Oh, okay. See, can I switch my answer now? Can I, or is that am I flip flop? I can't do that. I gotta stick to what I said before.
We've flip flopped before on this podcast, this broadcast,
because I didn't know the whole back. I didn't know that was like, okay. So if that's
there's
the
more
case,
to be revealed.
Well, if that's the case, and that's like one of the main, reasons out there that it's like credible, then I definitely will switch my answer and think like maybe he was just trying to like, use his title and be like, well, I know I'm good, so it has to be them, which is unfortunate because of course we're going to think, maybe these rookies don't know how to run the routes like how we run the routes on this team. So maybe, but then also, like I said, you know what? Maybe I'm in between. I'll say I'm in between. So I do think that maybe, like you said, there is some truth to it, and maybe that he is kind of like this douchebag that's like, yo, I'm gonna keep playing, and it's probably the wide receivers, but also too, there's a lot of trolls. So,
yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna really pay dividends with this draft, and obviously OTAs and the season itself, like what receiver he kind of targets in on. Obviously, Randall Cobb is gone. Jordy was almost going to come out of retirement. Wow. Thanks. So, I mean, it's pretty much Devontae Adams is the target on that team. And Aaron Jones probably should have got the ball way more. He averaged like 7 yards a carry. So, this Aaron Rodgers situation, I really think the longer this plays out, we're really going to see, like, you know what? His narrative might change before our eyes. What we actually thought of Aaron Rodgers. Like, is he just worse than Brett Favre? Like, it's interesting how patterns kind of play out and life plays out and how relationships kind of turn. Because when we first got there, Aaron Rodgers was given all the benefit of the doubt. But now all he's getting is attacks. and critiques. And it's
Well,
harder to ignore them.
I mean, going back to referencing the last episode, a few episodes, you guys were talking about how the NFL changed some of the rules, correct?
Yep.
So, isn't that also like, doesn't that give the opportunity for people to troll even more? Because now they've changed the rules of the game, and maybe they're like, oh, look at him, he's throwing, bad throws because of the rule change, if that makes sense.
I think it's more of if he plays bad, was it him playing bad? Was it his teammates not being where they're supposed to be? Or is it him freelancing so much? Or was it him being so much of a cowboy that the team's failing? Because if you go back and look in the article, it's like Mike McCarthy never cared about the defense, never checked on the defense, and it showed for years because their defense was putrid. So it's like now they have a really good young nucleus of defensive backs. They signed a really good safety in Adrian Amos, and it's just really interesting to me now. They got pass rushers, and what they're going to do in the draft. I think this is probably the most pressure Aaron Rodgers has ever had on him, I would say. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out. But moving on, we got other quarterbacks in play. So Russell Wilson negotiating a new contract with the Seahawks. And pretty much he set a deadline last week. I think it was April 15th. Got to double check my timeline, but he set a deadline. Pretty much, I want a new contract. Need a new contract. And honestly, I don't know if Pete Carroll really has the stones to do it, but possibly trading Russell Wilson for 2 first-round picks would be pretty ballsy. I would be really shocked if he made that trade. But I think they're going to pay him because you don't dismantle your whole team, the Legion of Boom and all that. Give him the ball instead of Marshawn Lynch on the 1-yard line, which I'm still angry about. By the way, Pete, I'm taking Marshawn Lynch over Ricky Williams. Love Ricky Williams, but I'm taking Marshawn Lynch. But anyway, you don't have all that history. All those articles come out about the culture in Seattle to rebuild the team in your image and build it around Russell Wilson to not pay Russell Wilson. So it's really kind of everything is kind of going right for Russell. Got Sierra her masters and didn't say anything. Huge. That was huge. That was a huge flex. That was a huge flex.
Huge flex on Future.
Damn. Future just.
He's just sad right now.
Whew.
And he got little Future playing baseball and football. I'm just like, yo.
And now Sierra's trying to change his kid's name to Russell Wilson.
Is that really real?
Yeah, the story came out. Sierra's trying to change Future son's name to pretty much be under Russell Wilson.
Yo, that is okay. That's, I guess, a topic for another day. But
no, we can have a topic right now. It's just I'm really taken aback by how much Russell Wilson is winning in life right now.
Yeah,
it's textbook. Bravo to him. I mean, his team's trash and his offensive line is terrible, but good for him as an individual person.
That's just messy.
Messy on both sides.
Yeah. I mean, he would be a swell gentleman and add more points to his name and his title if he says, nah, don't change that kid's name to my name. Because if he does, that's adding fuel to the fire of Future's L. So
it's kind of because it's he took an L trying to speak and compare himself to Nipsey Hussle, and it's you aren't.
Well,
We see what you tried to do. We see what you tried to do.
I don't know what he was trying to do. I didn't even see it. I couldn't see it because there was nothing there to see. No comparison.
He deleted it. He deleted
that
the
was
comment.
the most far. I don't know.
He was trying to compare like being hardworking and never giving up. People were like, "Fam, you talk about like doing drugs and doing horrible
that
shit
is not
to
even
women,
apples
and you don't take
oranges.
care of your children."
That's literally apples and monkeys, bro.
Damn.
That is like two extremes. Like, I'm sorry. Like, no.
Say how you really feel.
Like, no. Like, really, Future? Like, no, you do not. He has not set any positive example in
And he
his
lied about
community
doing drugs.
or our community. So
that's what you're pretty much saying. That Future,
he's a fraud.
Bruh.
He's a fraud. Yikes. Not looking good. And a like commercial just came out with Sierra, like directing her own video shoot, probably singing about Russell. Yeah, man, Russell Wilson's killing it. Like, shout out to Russell Wilson. Now, I'm going to quickly just run through the names of the attendees that we have right now for the NFL draft. So, obviously, at the top, you got QB Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma, Heisman winner. Clemson All-American and legend Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle, Alabama running back, who I think shouldn't go in the first round, but hey, whatever. That's just me. Well, if he busts out in 2 years, don't say anything to me. All y'all who think Josh Jacobs is a great running back. I wouldn't take a single running back in this first round. Y'all are on drugs, but whatever. So yeah, Josh Jacobs is going to be there. Montez Sweat, the fastest defensive lineman in the history of football. Faster than probably your favorite receiver because he's 6'6", 260, and he ran a 4.41. That's pretty horrifying. That's 10.4 track speed.
Yo,
that's stupid fast.
That is stupid fast. Like, every time I hear numbers like that, I always think about like Dawn of the Dead or like
28 days later.
Yeah, 28 days later. Like what would happen? And they're chasing me, and I had nothing. Like, what would I do?
Your body would just trigger a dopamine rush.
Just like, I'm gonna take this. Like, there's no running it. Unless you had something to, even then, like to whack it or whatever. I don't know. Like, just thinking about, he can go that fast already. So imagine if they're like superhuman speed. Like,
and like his only defect is that he has like a slight heart murmur. So it's like it may affect him, it may not.
Right.
But even him slowed down, not at full speed, is still probably like a 4.6. That's still stupid fast for a man his size. So Montez Sweat will be there. Tight end Noah Fant out of Iowa, who ran a 4.51. Again, insanely fast for a tight end. Some receivers and corners don't run that fast. Speaking of corners, DeAndre Baker, Georgia corner, who hasn't allowed a touchdown in like 2 years, but Georgia still choked in the national title game. So what do you know? Kentucky edge rusher Josh Allen. He's probably going to be the #1 overall pick. I'm just going to say it. If he's not, he's going to fall to either the Jets or the Raiders, and I'm actually cool with either one of those spots. Edge rusher and Donald Trump apologist and huge supporter of Donald Trump and all things MAGA, and he hated Black Panther and said it was a terrible movie, and he talked shit about Beyonce. Edge rusher out of Ohio State, Nick Bosa. Just kind of. I mean, you said he deleted a lot of his tweets because he might get drafted to San Francisco. So you already said a bunch of racist suspect stuff. So now you want to delete your Twitter. Is that what I'm hearing?
Like, that's going to erase what you did.
Your tweets, I mean. Like, we saw it, bro. I'm just kidding. I'm confused when people delete, like, their tweets. Like, no, if I said it, I said it, and if you were standing in front of me, I'd look you in the eye and say it. And we would just deal with it how we deal with it. But this dude really thinks, oh yeah, I might go to a really liberal city like San Francisco. Like there isn't racism in San Francisco. Like there's not gentrification in San Francisco. Like they don't have like literal shoot up centers where you can do heroin legally, but black people on crack are still in prison, getting like 80-year sentences 20 years ago. But we ain't gonna talk about that. This isn't a racial episode. Plus, I'm tired. I'm just tired. I can't talk about race. It's a lot. It's been a long week. But cousin of Antonio Brown, Marquise Hollywood Brown, he also got a good prognosis on his foot because he had a Liz Frank injury, so he missed the combine and all that. Some people say he runs a 4.2. Some people say he runs a 4.3. All I know is the dude is fast, and he'll be at the combine, so he might be a first-round pick. He might not be, but it'll be interesting. Edge rusher Brian Burns out of Florida State. He's pretty much Arden Key with elite speed. Pretty sure everyone who's a Raiders fan vomited in their mouth when they heard me say that just now. Sorry, but he's actually better than Arden Key. He actually has like more than one pass rush. Now, he probably shouldn't be a 4.3 defensive end because he's super skinny and slight. He'd probably just be a stand-up rusher, but he's going to be there, and he had a great combine. Linebacker Devin Bush out of Michigan, who ran a ridiculous 4.4 40. Andre Dillard, left tackle out of Washington State, ran a 4.9. Great combine. Cody Ford, offensive lineman out of Oklahoma, another great combine. T.J. Hawkinson, the great white hope of tight ends. I'm kidding, but not really. Out of Iowa, the other great Iowa tight end who actually won the Mackey Award for best tight end. He'll be at the combine. Drew Lock out of Missouri, record-breaking quarterback. Let's see, what Transformer would he be? Ultron, probably. DK Metcalf, a.k.a. the Human Terminator. Yeah, that dude is going to be at the NFL draft. You're also going to have Devin White, LSU star, ran that amazing 4.4 40. I really hope the Raiders take him because I don't care that they got Brandon Marshall and Vontaze Burfict. Their linebacking core is still trash. He's going to be there. Florida tackle Juwan Taylor. Houston star defensive tackle Ed Oliver. Greedy Williams, LSU cornerback. Jonah Williams, Alabama left tackle. And Quinnen Williams, Alabama defensive tackle, will also be at the NFL Combine. If I had to guess who might wait the longest, it'll probably be Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, out of Oklahoma. Just because he's injured. There's about 4 or 5 receivers, honestly, that you could say are better than him. Like, he runs, he's like, what, 166? I'm sorry, but that guy's not a number 1 receiver in the NFL. DK Metcalf can be. A.J. Brown can be. Hakeem Butler, if he doesn't drop a bunch of passes, could be. There's a lot of good receivers in this draft who have a lot of potential, and Marquise Brown could just suffer. Andy Isabella, Paris Campbell, like, there's a lot of receivers who could potentially be the reason that Marquise Brown probably slips to the 2nd or 3rd round, which would be shocking. And Daniel Jones, the quarterback out of Duke, it'd be interesting to see where he might go. Might go to Washington. He had a really good pro day. I want to see where Tyree Jackson goes out of Buffalo. The dude pretty much taught himself how to play quarterback and was actually really good. And has freakish athleticism, like Cam Newton type athleticism, with probably a Patrick Mahomes type arm. And he has room to get better. So hopefully he gets with the right quarterback coach, and who knows, he could set the world on fire. So it'll be interesting to see where a lot of these QBs go, because people are saying Drew Lock could be a 1st round pick. I'm not really all that sold on Drew Lock. We'll see. But anyway, for some news, DeMarcus Lawrence, defensive lineman out of Boise State, and Dallas Cowboy, Pro Bowler, and at one point All-Pro. He finally got a new deal. Shout out to this man. Shout out to this man right here. So, here's what happened. He got a massive 5-year, $105 million contract, according to ESPN, blah, blah, blah. $65 million in guaranteed cash, which is the fourth highest for a current defensive player, behind Khalil Mack, Aaron Donald, and Von Miller. And his 25 sacks are the fourth highest since 2017. Thoughts?
That's a lot of money up front.
Like, for... It's weird for all these guys who we thought weren't going to get... And Randy Gregory got paid by the Cowboys, too. Like, Dallas is... I don't want to... I hate to say this, but I can't believe I'm going to say it. Dallas is kind of building something nice. They got Robert Quinn for nothing, for like some Celeste pizza and a Hot Pocket. And then they got Robert Quinn. They got Robert Quinn for a bag of Funyuns and like half a pack of Annihilators.
Wait. Which bag of Funyuns? Because you have the $1.69 regular bag, and then you get the 2 for 59.
By the way, that $1.69 shit, that chip tax.
Yeah,
that's why I stopped eating chips.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's why I get the little bag.
3 for $1.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's
those
what
are
I'm
2 for
saying.
$1. Yeah.
And is he that value?
Is he
or
the 1 for 59?
Because you already compared the other guy to Celeste Pizza, so I need to know.
No. Like, DeMarcus Lawrence is the real deal. He's like DiGiorno pizza when you're really high. He's like when your friends take you out to eat, and like they pay for your food, but you get dessert, and everybody eats it. It's one of those kind of things. Like, DeMarcus Lawrence is like going to Nations and getting the lemon pie, not the lemon meringue pie.
I see.
But
I get it.
You really only wanted the burger, but you came for the pie, and then they hooked you up with like a T-shirt because they do that. The one in San Leandro.
So you got other things, but you didn't get what you wanted, or
what
you deserved.
No, you got the burger. You didn't even need the fries. Like, you totally forgot you didn't get fries, and you got a big ass slice of the pie, and you're like, you know what? This is what I wanted. This was okay.
Okay.
And then you got an extra shirt. You got a shirt to go with it. Like, and now he's going to get surgery because he was holding out, because he wanted to make sure, like, hey, I want to actually get paid. I don't want to get this surgery and then I'm still playing on a franchise tag again. That's stupid. So shout out to that man for getting his money.
65 million.
Guaranteed. But just to double back, speaking of when we were talking about all that flavor, let's talk about something that has no flavor and is literally the definition of a cracker. No pun intended. Bosa again. So he stopped tweeting about Kaepernick, Donald Trump. Do you think that athletes nowadays tweeting about things that have nothing to do with sports, that may or may not, whether it's political views or they're on some dumb Kodak Black type shit, do you think that will affect? Do you think that will affect their legitimate like playing career, or do you really think it's just the fans that are going to be angry? And do you really personally care?
Okay, so that's like a 2-3 part question. So, do I care? Kind of, because you're in the NFL and this is a sport where you have a lot of people looking at you and watching you. And we're growing up in a time of social media, so everything that you say is right there. So, it's like he's kind of giving the okay to these little white boys coming up to kind of confirm, like, oh, okay, it's okay to believe these things. So I kind of do. But to the question about should athletes speak up about things other than sports, I think they do, because of that reason. Like I said before, they have such an impact, and what Kaepernick did was such an impact, and they have the platform to say these things. So I do think that they should be able to speak up on it. But I mean, freedom of speech or Second Amendment right, so
First Amendment right.
Second Amendment is bear arms.
Yeah.
No, sorry. So First Amendment, freedom of speech. My bad, guys.
Well, the way he talked, the way Bosa talks, I mean, you could probably combine the two. He would probably use one to justify the other.
Well,
saying whatever you want to, use a gun on a black person. But again, we're not talking about race.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry to mix up the Constitution,
guys.
But yes, I know
it was
cool. Something. But no.
Nowadays, people are just like, we'll get to the Chicago PD in a second, but go ahead, finish your point.
But I was just saying, I do think that they should be able to speak up on it, but when it becomes like hateful and he's back, like, because then again it's biased, because it's like, okay, he has that platform, he can say what he wants to say, but if he knows what he said is going to have an impact, why would he even post it in the first place? That's my issue. If you knew that you're going to be this big and you were going to have all these eyes on you, why would you even put your feelings out like that? And you didn't want the backlash. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's where people and athletes need to figure that out. Do you want to deal with the problem? And do you want to deal with the consequences of what you're saying? Because now what you say on social media, that's kind of like, it's an action. Words have a lot of action and meaning behind it. So, it's the matter of, are you going to do something about it? Are you going to actually make a positive change? If not, then don't speak up on these things, especially something political, and how the NFL has a big impact, on that, when it comes to race and politics. But that's another tangent. But I do think that yes, that they should be able to say what they want to say, and that, they should be careful about what they say.
But in your particular case, you kind of care what he has to say?
Yeah, like, I don't care what he has to say, because I know what he's saying is ignorant, but then also I do care, because it also confirms that idea and what he's saying to me, which I don't think it's okay, but he's kind of confirming that and letting these other little people or little white kids, I'm pretty sure I hope there's no other black kid that looks up to him, but
sadly there's a lot of coons out there who are pro-Trump.
Well, that and that's, what I mean, like, you're tweeting
Candace
that.
Owens, I hate you. Yeah, I hate Candace
Oh, that
Owens.
girl. Oh my God.
My mom says you shouldn't say hate. I hate people like Candace Owens.
Coons like that, and
literally just going out and saying, it's okay if you just kill black people. So, like, if you just take out black people and apply everyone in that situation, she's literally just pretty much making it okay to, like, let's just commit mass genocide. White people on everybody else. Or just white people on white people. Just, you're literally, I don't like rhetoric
because she tried to justify nationalism and how if he
colonialism and all that.
Yeah, and that's when she wanted to justify and clarify what she said. She was like, I was talking about nationalism, and if Hitler was not a national, like, and so it's like,
yeah, that was gross.
That to me, I was like, wait, Hitler. What? So you still believe in national, like that? To me, that was just like, what is wrong? That's like literally, you're in the sunken place. Her ends, bro, look like she's in the sunken place.
Damn.
She could at least, with all that, she could have, and that money and whatever, and she's gonna be on media and she wants to look good. She could have put at least a lace front, girl. If you want to know about your black community, them ends look tired. Tired. Like, go to sleep, tuck it in the bed, tired.
Damn, like.
Let it go, honey.
That's
She want to sit here and talk about things like that. Girl, look at yourself.
Damn!
I'm glad I don't have the gunshot emoji anymore.
Damn!
Honestly, like, but whatever. I hate politicians. I hate people who just say whatever to get a check from whoever.
Biggest con artist out there.
That's the nasty, like, that's rhetoric that as human beings, like, is gross. Like that, like I can't respect that. Like, because nothing you say is genuine. You're just saying something for the highest bidder.
Right.
That's nasty. Like, yeah, both. And that goes to my deeper point of like racism and just stupid people and like dumbass fans and all that. Like, I would rather you be honest and open who you are, so I know where you're coming from. Rather than like I gotta like you say one thing, you throw a rock, hide your hand. That's why I think, and I'm gonna tie this into the Nipsey situation. That's why like it hit the cities. It's weird. Like, it really feels like that spot, the story, even though that's where he died on his business, on his land, his property that he owned. It went from just utter dark sadness to just like it's a shrine, it's Mecca, it's sacred ground.
Today was a beautiful day in the hood, by the way. I'm gonna just shout that out there. I was on Century. I live on Century, so I got to experience. I got to see his body, look at it, see them pass, and that was like a beautiful day in the hood. For some reason, like usually I don't glorify things like that. Sorry to cut you off, but like I don't glorify. Like I don't like to do that but today and how it was black people, brown people, people from everywhere coming together and shutting LA down like it was Oakland. Like it made me feel like I was at home, and I was
they did a march in Oakland for him.
Well, I'm pretty sure they did, but like when they were doing burnouts, you had people coming out from
dirt
everywhere.
Bikes.
Yeah, like it was lit. Like I know if the people the gentrifiers that were barely moving in, they were like, "What is this?" But me coming from Oakland, I was just like, "Yo, this is what it is." And he had the whole city behind him. Like that's what made me like feel so honored to be there, because I got to experience like people just going wild and just showing out the best for him, which is dope.
And people say like, oh, people can like. I hate when people say what they really want to say is poor people, but they just use black people as a scapegoat, and they use Latinos as a scapegoat. Like, people from impoverished communities can come together anytime they want.
Yeah. And I seen it today.
In a second.
Yes, and it was beautiful.
But it shouldn't be because you kill one of our own. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times there are agent provocateurs out there. That's why, like, they're saying, like somebody, a loud noise popped off, but it was, like, balloons hitting a power line, and they exploded, and everybody got scared shitless, and they took off and ran. Like, that's natural fear. And it's crazy because, like, everything was fine. Nobody was doing anything
There was actually
wrong.
some shootings that just happened not that long ago.
Wait, like today?
Today, like right after. Because I was hearing sirens, and then it looked, and it's confirmed that there were some shootings that happened on Slauson. So, yeah.
Like, were guns just shot off in the air?
Yeah, like, no,
or
people
like,
were
did
hit.
Somebody get shot,
people were hit. Supposedly someone died.
Damn.
Yeah, but I kind of figured that was going to,
You just threw
like,
a goddamn wet blanket on the
sorry.
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to say that. Somebody's like, well, actually. Sorry. I mean, it was, at the time, it was a beautiful day. It was some beautiful
ratchetness. They got to the
ratchetness.
funeral home, right?
Yeah. But no, this is like way after. This is from a side of that. This is just black people just showing out, and probably somebody that throwing hoods and banging on one side and somebody else. I don't know. That's what I'm assuming. I think it was probably just a
lot of emotions and people. Yeah. There's always those people, like, in funerals, where, like, there's always that one person who acts out and spazzes out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Like, people who are guilty and they spazz out, people who held in it for so long and they finally just pop, and you can't do anything but just be in the vicinity and be there for them. But, man, like, Lauren London, that's a strong woman right there. His brother, Black Sam.
Yeah, it was, I was watching the funeral, and It was.
It's free on Tidal for members and non-members.
Man, I'm sorry, but some of those performers really messed it up. But what made me break was seeing Lauren London's son talk about seeing Nipsey in his dream. I was like bawling. Like the whole time I was cool, and then seeing that, I was just like, oh my God, like that's so sad.
I heard the first 15 seconds in the kid's voice, and I had to stop. I was like, it took
yeah.
me back to when my granddad died, and I saw him
Mm.
blink, and no one in my family to this day believes me when I say, like, he blinked and I saw it. Like, he winked at me, and it's like, as a child, you can have that kind of spiritual experience, and no one will believe you, or everyone will believe that, like, they believe you, and it's like, that's God. Like, that's the way it happens. People communicate with you on the other side. Like, some people say, like, man, I feel like such and such was with me the whole way. That was my guardian angel.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I don't deny that, for sure. For sure. But I was going back to the whole, what's that guy's name? The college player that's going to get drafted that we're talking about, the white boy?
Nick Bosa?
Oh, Nick Bosa. Oh, okay. So I was...
Stiff hit Bosa? Gotcha.
Yeah, so just related to that, I was, even though it's NBA, did you read Kyle Korver's essay?
I saw it, but I haven't read it yet. But everybody gives
it was
Kyle
actually
Korver's...
it was pretty good. I respected it. I liked it, and I think that like him, he had a powerful impact, and he used his platform in the right way, because he basically just talks about how, like, you know, it was out of reflex, not out of consciousness, for me to ask what he did, like, what did he do to, or what did these, what did the black basketball players and what did these black people do to have this action happen upon them? So he was talking about, like, his other NBA player, team player, like, who got harassed by NYPD, and he got injured during that time while he was in jail and stuff, and he was just talking about how, like, he felt guilty that at first it was a reflex for me to think, like, oh, so what did he do? It wasn't like, oh, was he okay? And I appreciate that. I was like, okay, so not only is he's not like being those white guys, those people that are trying to pretend they're woke, you know what I mean, and pretend like they're conscious and like they understand black issues. He's just like, all right, you know what, I know that I need to listen. And I thought that was really powerful, that he's saying that, you know, for us white athletes, and we're surrounded by these sports players and who are majority black and who make up the team, who make up the sport itself in the league, like, they go through this shit, and rather than us trying to, you know, silence them and be like, well, do your job, we need to actually listen to them. So I thought it was pretty powerful, and it's a step forward in some white consciousness on what black issues are there, you know. So kudos to him, even though we're talking about NFL. Shout out to Kyle Korver for that essay. I thought it was well written.
I mean, I'm not gonna give him applause, because I feel like all white people know racism exists.
Yeah,
and they know, like, you know, racism was bad, and you know that your ancestors got everything they got because they stole, raped, and killed and peeled it from black and Latino people. But hey, and the laws were actually okay. I'll put it like this: if black people, Latinos, were allowed to go legit in the dope game, the world would look different.
Right. But he said something powerful that.
But I'm glad that he.
Yeah, but going off what you said about that, like, he said, as white people, we are guilty of the sins of our forefathers. No, I don't think so. But are we responsible for them? Yes, I believe we are. So I think that's pretty important that he recognized that, like, look, you know, like, we shouldn't. I know that we didn't do that shit because that happened in the past, but we are we as white people, we are responsible for it, and we're responsible for perpetuating that and letting it continue to happen and let it be systematic, and we need to dismantle that. So that's what I appreciate. It wasn't just like a cliche, oh, I'm a white person and, you know, I'm going to try to pretend that I'm not racist. You know, like you said, all white people are kind of inherently racist, you know. Like,
I don't think they're inherently racist. They know racism exists, and they know that they get treatment better than other people.
I mean, those who recognize their privilege, you know what I mean? But, like...
Even if they don't recognize it, like, that white dude who just burned down 3 black churches. And
you're right, not inherently.
His father is...
genetically.
I feel like...
I was saying inherently, like, as if it runs in a generation.
I feel like, sadly...
I feel like... Choice of words.
I feel like trauma's passed down, but I feel like entitlement is, too.
Right. It is, definitely. Most definitely.
I feel like entitlement is passed down in ways that we don't give trauma passes for. Like, trauma creates things that we damn in people, that we say it should be fixed. But entitlement passes down something in people that'll be like, oh, that, like, it. You're like, I'm supposed to have this. I'm supposed to be this. I'm supposed to be great. Right. I'm supposed to have this regardless, even if though I don't meet the qualifications. Kind of like all those rich people who are now facing charges for illegally getting their kids into college. I feel like entitlement creates something. Entitlement is something that is like artificial sugar. Like, if that makes any sense. I don't know how I say that, but entitlement is like raw cocaine. Like pure uncut cocaine. And it's very dangerous. And it can kill you. Being entitled can get you killed out here. But it can also give you some type of power that you didn't really deserve. That, like, you just came across it. You didn't create it. You just have it.
Yeah.
And somebody else doesn't. And they suffer from your actions, from you having all that entitlement. And that's why I didn't think I was going to deep dive this hard. But when I think about athletes getting paid, and Sterling Shepard, receiver for the Giants, he just got paid. Fat contract, 5 years, $41 million. I want to say like 20. Let me double check. I think it was like 25 million guaranteed. Hold on, let me double check. 21.3 million guaranteed. That's on par with like what Tyrell Williams got when he signed with the Raiders. And I think of all these athletes finally getting paid, and people complaining like, oh, it's too much. People complaining about Odell wanting to get paid and saying he's a kid. I'm like, first off, if I have a unique talent and skill that nobody else can do, and I can produce in ways that nobody else can produce, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to deal with what comes with whatever that is. And I would say a guy like Odell compared to... Actually, no. Let me come up with... No, let's go with Odell coming out of college compared to Bosa coming out of college. Now, this is kind of a far-fetched explanation, but I look at a guy like Odell who came out of high school, same high school as the Manning brothers, helped win a state title for the first time in like 20 years, went to LSU, put in work, earned a spot, was relatively quiet, and wasn't like a headache in college for the most part, unless you were his teammate and you had to guard him in practice, and it was a long day for you because Jarvis Landry was on the other side, and you had Jeremy Hill at running back. But you look at entitlement in athletes, and yeah, a lot of it, like, black athletes are almost always accused of being entitled, but the white ones just kind of skate by. Like the Bosas of the world, whose family's rich, who went to a really rich high school in Florida.
Well, you got to look at the audience, and you got to look at, you know, the people who run it. Of course, they're going to say, well, they're going to consciously think, like, well, these black athletes shouldn't really get, even though they may not think, like, oh, they're not saying, oh, these black athletes shouldn't deserve it. They're thinking that, like, oh, because, like you said, white privilege. They're thinking that these guys are entitled to that.
But even just even if you take race out of it, just, oh, this cat's a bum and he doesn't deserve to get paid.
No, I
like, that's wild.
No, I think it's wild because
fan entitlement.
These leagues, NFL, NBA, MLB, MLS, you know, they make a lot of money.
Wait, did you just say MLS on this podcast?
Pete
is seething because he hates soccer.
Sorry. But
Don't be sorry. But
I'm just saying, like, I'm including the major leagues. Like, they make a lot of money from these athletes using their bodies. So I do think that, yeah, they should, hop on those opportunities. If they're getting these sponsorships and all these things, I would hop on that too and be like, if I can get this much money, yeah, I deserve this much money. I don't think they're asking for too much. I mean, I just think, again, there's just people trolling and hating because they're not in that position. Because if you're in that position, I'm pretty sure, and you knew that you can get paid that much, I'm pretty sure people will be like, oh no, I want to get paid this much and I demand this much. I mean, in general, like right now, just being a human being and being a person in the United States, we're each, in California, we're like, you know what? Like me, coming from example, I graduated from Whittier College. I'm like, I have a BA. I should start off making this much, you know what I mean? Because I did this. Like, that's how I think. So why can they think like that? I feel somewhat entitled because I have my degree, you know what I mean? So why, they earned that right. So why shouldn't, I feel like in that sense, because they earned it, they should feel entitled. But if you didn't really earn anything, like, like a lot of these white kids, a lot of these white celebrities that got paid through, like, they didn't really earn it. So it's like they
got all the best treatment.
Yes, they got all. They bought that. Like, you know what I mean? These people,
their parents bought it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, their parents, but they bought it.
They reaped the benefits of it.
Exactly. But like these black, they didn't buy any. They worked their asses off. The majority, even though there's now you have these kids getting bread, and they're coming from these. I'm starting to notice, maybe it's just me, but I'm starting to notice a lot more athletes are breeding these kids like, oh, you're going to be an NFL player, or they decide to be an NFL player because their dad is. Or,
like, they're just, like, a lot of them are only, it's more like lack of specialization. Like,
right.
Kids used to play multiple sports now. Like, if you're playing football, it's so much of a business.
Yeah.
That you're
it's like
you're
going to wake up. And you're going to wake up and think about football. You're going to breathe, eat football. Like, that's how these kids look like. And in each sport, I'm noticing, now I'm paying attention to sports more, but I've noticed throughout the years now, like, the past 10 years, it's like, like, these kids, you can tell as soon as they started to walk and talk, all they're doing is, football drills and stuff. So that's all they know. And these are, like, some straight up football kids. So compared to like 10 years ago, maybe not a lot of people had that access. And it's cool that people that have access to it, but still it goes back to that whole entitled thing. Like, if they worked hard to it and they didn't buy their way through it, then they deserve it. They are entitled to it, but don't act entitled when you didn't earn, when there is no earning and working hard behind it. And even then, earning, that word earning now, it's like kind of hard to define, but
because I mean, you never get what you earn, you get what you negotiate.
Right.
So who's to say what you negotiate isn't what you earned? And if you look at the NFL draft coming up, people got pissed at Roquan Smith for taking so long and holding out, but when he signed his deal, he made sure, like, oh, if I get suspended or I get fined for a late hit, you can't take that out. You have to pay me my money, and the team covers it or whatever. Like, that's just smart negotiation.
Yeah.
That's leveraging who you are and what you want compared to the other side.
I just think they're not prepared that athletes are becoming more financially aware about the things that they do, and I think they're kind of like shocked, and then that's where this whole entitlement thing comes in.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at a guy, to take it back to Nip, dude wasn't entitled. He worked and was smart and figured out how to be business minded. Mm-hmm. And some people might say, it's out there, like, he was against gentrification. He was against, people, all these businesses coming in and buying up all the property and kicking everybody out. Mm-hmm. People are already getting their rent doubled and tripled in California. Like, they're forcing people out, in particular blacks and Latinos, out in huge numbers with just the rent spikes. And it's like, the people coming in are probably going to be mad entitled because they're like, well, I can afford this. Yeah. But it's like, you didn't make this neighborhood. It's the same way with Oakland. Like, you didn't create this neighborhood. You just decided to buy everything up and kick the people out who can't actually afford to live here anymore. So it's like
because it was cool because all these
it was cool to come here and vulture.
because
to be a culture vulture and come here, but
and it's unfortunate not to go a big tangent, but it's like they
that's
see that touchdown and tangents.
Shout out to all our affiliates, X Squads, full press coverage.
But no, like I coming from Oakland and knowing that experience that, and even in LA, like I've noticed there's a little bit more of there's a race issue down here, but being in Oakland, we're always so open arms with people, even in the hood, and like doesn't matter where you come from, like as long as you're not trying to have no bad business or bad blood down here, you're always welcome with open arms, and it doesn't matter what color you were. And like I feel like, again, white people the white people that had that opportunity and had that advantage to come down here and live off of cheap rent and not really struggle so much, they were able to benefit from that and see that, they're actually welcoming us down here. And that's how I think it started with Oakland, and it's starting like that in LA. It's like, they see that we're actually our kind, and that this is not so bad. And then they start telling their friends about it. They're like, this is not so bad after all. And everybody starts moving in, and it's like,
there's
like
white
you
people
say,
that live in the jungles. I'm still shook by that.
Yeah, there's white people that live in my neighborhood right now. I'm like, what? Like, this is...
Why are you here?
Yeah, and I was like, this
Stop
is the
calling
first
the cops
time...
on everybody.
Right? And then going to come in and feel uncomfortable, like, why is this person right here? No, why are you here? Why are you here? And it's like, it sucks because it's like, like I was telling my friend earlier, like, I like coming down Western. I like coming down these streets because... Venice tries to copy the whole, like, street murals and, like, the graffiti and the street art. But, like, you can go up Western, go down Western, go everywhere, and you see it. And it's just, I don't know, it gives LA that much more character and that ruggedness that makes it what it is.
There's an authenticity that...
Yeah, authenticity.
You can't take away from certain cities and...
Right.
Certain people and certain players, and I think that's where, like, the line between entitlement and, like, being justified and feeling that what you created, like, feel like feeling like you're owed something, compared to, like, having a real nasty sense of entitlement. I think Antonio Brown is kind of, I would say he's twerking on that line. I can't believe I just said that, but yeah. He's twerking a fine line between, like, entitlement and, like, righteous indignation. Because it's like, okay, dude, we get it. You're a 6th-round pick. This, that, and the third. One of the greatest players in Steelers history. And it was a bad exit, but it's like, you got to eventually turn the page. Like, that relationship is old and gone. I'm pretty sure, like, you don't want to sit around and talk about your ex all day. Like, no one wants to hear that. You don't want to sit around and people want to hear you trash your ex all day.
Makes you look miserable.
Makes you look weak. It makes you look like, do you still want them?
You
like,
have something that you're holding on to. Like, what is it, bro?
Yeah, and it's gross. But, whatever. That was like a touchdowns in therapy.
Yeah.
But just to touch on a couple things, the now defunct AAF league. Ooh, sorry. I thought, like, you ever have to sneeze and then, like, you like lose the ability to breathe for like 3 seconds?
Because you're holding your breath, like,
I'm trying to fight it, and like
Yeah.
now it feels like someone punched me in the nose with a hammer. Ow, sorry. But what I was gonna say was the AAF, now defunct league. The NFL signed about 30 of their players, so I guess it's a win. The Eagles signed quarterback Luis Perez. Jaron Elliott got signed. He led the league with 7.5 sacks. So it's good that some of those guys are getting picked up by NFL teams. really going to be interesting to see what happens with the XFL and if they end up going the same route. Because here's some things that's going to happen with the XFL. So it'll be 1 point for a successful scrimmage play from the 2-yard line, 2 points from the 5, and 3 from the 10. In the XFL, the traditional extra point won't exist. It'll be dead. And they're not going to have a 3-point stance. As a lineman, as a former lineman, I just have one thing to say. Oh, you didn't hear me? Let me say it again. You know what? Rule of thirds. Yeah, you can't have people blocking if they're not going to be in a 3-point stance. That's not how football works. That's how you get injuries. That's how you slip a disc in your back. That's how you get bull rushed into oblivion. That's how you get rolled up behind somebody and then you end up tearing your knee out of your socket. It just, like, there's so many bad things that can happen when you don't get in a proper 3-point stance as a lineman. And these defensive players are way too athletic for offensive linemen who are the least athletic people in the field sometimes. And they're freakishly athletic, and they're the least athletic. That's kind of scary, other than, like, the kicker and the punter.
What do you mean least athletic? Are you saying least athletic?
Like speed and agility.
Okay, so
like there aren't any linemen who are like 4 or 5s.
They're not least athletic. They're the least mobile.
I mean, because mobility and athleticism don't always sync up. Some people are incredibly mobile. They're not athletic, though.
But, I mean, I still think that takes a lot of athletic skill to stay within that. Because I from what I know, or from what I know about the O-line and just linemen in general, your job, correct me if I'm wrong, but your job is to really make sure that you don't have to move from that spot and block that person and make sure that your quarterback is fine. If you're offensive.
That's the ideal situation.
Or defense, I guess, like you said, defense, you could say a little bit more athletic, but I just say you have to be more mobile, because I feel like to have that much ability and power to make sure you can stay within that area and make sure you keep your defense at bay, and also, make sure that no one else comes in the line while trying to make sure that your defense doesn't move an inch forward to your quarterback. So I think it takes some athletic skills. So I don't say it's less athleticism. I think it's just less mobility.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, definitely. Some people have both. Some people have one or the other, and they make it work.
Because, like I was saying, I mean, as a line, you said O-lineman yourself, right?
Yep.
Like, isn't
O-line and D-line.
Yeah, isn't like whether you're left tackle, right tackle?
I was a center, but I played left and right tackle.
Oh, okay.
But I was a better right tackle.
Oh, okay. So, even though your job is supposed to make sure, if there's anybody scraggling and get to the quarterback, you're making sure that they stay at bay. But, if I'm correct, aren't you supposed to, not say make sure, but, you're good lineman if you can stay in the same spot and keep the person at bay? Yes
and no. I mean, because football is such a violent game, it's a constant, right. It's a dance almost.
Right.
It's a mirroring act. You have to stay. You're trying to make sure you're doing your job in pass protection. That's keeping that defender off your quarterback.
Right.
And in the run game, you got to go get guys.
Right.
You got to go down blocks. You got to go fire on backer, touchdown blocks, whatever. You have to go
that
get
depends
people.
on your position in the line, right?
Yeah, pull, kick out. I mean, some centers are really athletic, so they pull, but most centers, you don't want your center to pull. You really that's what your guards are for, and then tackles pull sometimes too. But yeah, so it's kind of like. It's rare that people stay in the same spot when you're rushing the passer or in your pass blocking. It's pretty much it's a mirroring.
Well,
act.
not saying necessarily to stay in the same spot, Well, I'm saying to make sure that the defense doesn't advance to another yard or that person. That's what I was trying to say.
I get what you're saying.
So trying to stay within that area, I do think it takes a lot of strength and athleticism to keep people who are really fast and really strong and keep them at that. Yeah. Keep them at bay. So I do think there is a lot of skill.
It's more technique in terms of skill. Because, I mean, there are a lot of really athletic linemen who can't block, and then there are really, like, slow linemen who are great technique, and vice versa. It's always a mix.
Right.
But when I think of offensive linemen, there's no offensive lineman out here running a 4.5. Mm-hmm. So they have to rely on the
If there is an old lineman or any lineman run a 4.5, I would
4.6. I think Lane Johnson ran a 4.6. But again, it's like he was a former quarterback and a former receiver. He was a tight end. Lane Johnson was a bunch of stuff coming out of Oklahoma. And then there's about 3 other guys. The Saints left tackle ran a really fast 40. Shout out to Arkansas Pine Bluff. But I mean,
what's a really fast 40 for a lineman?
Anything under like a 4.9. Like 4.9, 4.8, 4.7.
So
that's insanely fast.
4.7, 4.9 is extremely fast for.
If you run a 4.7 as an offensive lineman, that's ungodly speed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's like pretty fast. That's
like if anything under 5 seconds is great.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If any lineman can run a 4.6 or like run anything below that, or even even like a 4.7, like
think
you said,
between a 4.8, like a 4.8 and a 5 flat, or even a 5.1.
That's still fast.
That's elite speed for a lineman.
That's fast.
A 4.8 is elite speed.
Yeah.
So it's like anything faster than that.
It's like, is he really a lineman or is he? What else is he?
This dude was a skill player at one point. It just the athleticism translated
does
over.
Does that even work? Like a person who usually does like running back or like wide receiver or like cornerback, can they move onto a position like a
crazy
lineman?
Things have happened. I mean, some guys
and actually work.
It's rare, but Hassan Riddick, I mean, he became an All-American in college. He was a 2-star walk-on as a cornerback and became a 260-pound edge rusher, and he was a corner. Corners are not the most physical people on the planet, and they damn sure aren't the biggest and strongest. So he came in at like, I think, $180 and left at like 260. Whoa. Josh Allen was like a 2-star receiver.
That's literally, wow. So, wow. That's crazy.
A pure 80 pounds. Some guys add 100 pounds of muscle.
What was it? So that was just 80 pounds. I don't know what the guy looks like. So is that like 80 pounds of like just fat and muscle? Like,
no, he's like, I'm talking like 5% body fat probably.
So he's just like eating like
yolk
lean,
and he's
like
fast.
Deer meat and egg whites and like
egg whites
and quinoa and like
I hate quinoa.
Chicken wraps.
Quinoa's gross.
Chicken lettuce wraps.
Yeah.
He's just like eating protein on protein on protein on protein, like protein
12
shakes,
meals a day.
Eat, breathe, sleep protein shakes and
college
meals.
athletes have to eat a lot.
Yeah.
Like college athletes have to.
Yeah, people who have a lot, like not that much body fat, it surprises me. I mean, it makes sense, but like it just surprises me how much they eat. Like obviously you have to eat to burn that much calories, but it's just crazy. Like The Rock and stuff. Like to see his diet and like how much they have to consume to get that way. It's amazing. Shout out to those. Shout out to that guy because but gaining 80 pounds and only being 5% body fat, you're like, that's like some Superman.
And having elite athleticism, like the NFL has some of the best athletes on the face of the planet. And speaking of which, 49ers wide receiver Marquise Goodwin was an Olympian, and he says he'd win the long jump in 2020. He was an Olympian in the long jump. He competed in the 2012 Summer Games. It was like almost 8 years ago in London, and he finished 10th in the long jump after skipping the 2016 Olympics. He said he's ready to try it again. And honestly, him running a 4.27, him being as athletic as he is, he could probably do it again. I wouldn't put it past him. And the dude's been through a lot. Lost kids to miscarriages. Like, he's a strong, mentally tough human being. And a supremely gifted athlete. So I'm not going to put anything past him. Because Texas has a great track and field program. One of the best ever. And, like, him, Tennessee Titans cornerback Adoree Jackson, wanted to compete in the Olympics. Was, I think, an All-American in track or close to it. Like, some of these DBs, some of these receivers and running backs, linebackers, excellent track stars. Like, the linebackers in this draft. Texas linebacker Gary Johnson, he ran track at Texas and ran like a 4.46. Again, a 4.4, anything for a linebacker or a defensive end, that's elite. That's like running a 10.4 in the 100, or 10.5, 10.6 even. And it's like, that's reserved for running backs and receivers. That's elite speed. So when you see linebackers moving that fast, it's a problem. But I mean, everybody's faster and more athletic nowadays. That's just speed and supreme athleticism and coverage ability. That's where the game is moving nowadays. You don't really, like, that's why cats get frowned upon for running slow. We just gotta be honest. If you're a skill player and you run slow, gets frowned upon. But anyway, now some somber news, unfortunately. And this is also in San Francisco. It's been a theme this episode. We just keep going back to San Francisco. Solomon Thomas, former top pick for the San Francisco 49ers. His sister committed suicide January 23rd of 2018 last year.
Oh.
And a lot of people are saying that incident, like, it remains there's a lot of go-to speculation on why his play suffered, why he didn't really, take that next step and get better on the field. But Thomas never acknowledged it himself. But now he's admitting that tragedy, like, played a huge role on why his play wasn't really all that good. And that's crazy, because, like, his sister committed suicide and he never talked about it. That's some heavy, heavy shit right there. God forbid it. I wouldn't want either one of my sisters to be in that situation. Like, losing someone to suicide, it's...
I could imagine how much guilt somebody would have,
Survivor's guilt is
right?
Definitely...
Because you think, like, I should have been there and all these things to make sure that that person would be there. Especially when it's your sibling and your kin like that, It's unfortunate.
Yeah. But hopefully Solomon Thomas, he's a supremely gifted athlete. We all compared him to Aaron Donald coming out. So hopefully he has a resurgent year. Now, on to a couple more stories. T.O. lost a bunch of memorabilia. I mean, athletes kind of get stuff stolen, lose it all the time. But in T.O.'s case, his memorabilia was auctioned off after he didn't pay a storage bill.
Sheesh.
In Atlanta. They sold all the items at auctions. He stopped making payments, according to TMZ Sports. It was a custom bust of T.O., old playbooks, autographed helmets, cleats, and even a copy of an NDA agreement that we're assuming the NFL gave to people at parties.
He's just been catching L's.
Owens told TMZ that he didn't know the items were up for auction because the company didn't contact him to give him warning, adding his people had tried to contact the company for years, but was given, quote-unquote, the runaround. Not surprised, because it's T.O. and famous people get their stuff stolen all the time against their will. Just ask OJ.
Bruh. Bruh.
But yeah, so story might have a happy ending. Allegedly, So James Rice of Jan's Used Furniture in Griffin, Georgia, told teams that he'd be more than willing to give back the items to its rightful owner. We've heard that before. Ain't that right, OJ?
Bruh.
T.O., please don't go get your own shit. Have somebody else go get it. Okay. So, in this particular case, this next story, Sean McVay, his home was burglarized and $20,000 in valuables were stolen, according to Rams Wire. So, again, another report from TMZ. 3 thieves, 3 men wearing hoodies, gloves, and bandanas broke into the house by smashing the back door. According to law enforcement officials, $20,000 worth of jewelry and purses were stolen. At the time of the break-in, nobody was home, thankfully, and the damage was done to the door. The extent of that, outside of that, really wasn't known. And his security system alerted the police, but the suspects were already gone. Last year, Robert Woods' house was broken into during a win over the Vikings on September 27th. And it was pretty much a part of a string of the burglaries that would happen in LA that just kept happening to famous people. Famous people kept getting their houses robbed. Now, do you feel like NFL players have to abide by a certain street code when it comes to how they move?
What's that street code? What do you mean?
In terms of like being robbed, carrying a gun. Should I not carry a gun? Should I have armed security? Should I not have armed security? Should I be with the people like Nip? Should I not be with the people?
I don't know because, I mean, I feel like NFL players should be a little bit less. Excuse me. Not as show offy and like all over the place with their stuff, because I feel like they are like, you have this much money, you're a target. So I mean, I understand live in a great house and all these other things, but
this is
like
the head coach we're talking about.
Huh?
McVay was a head coach, so like no one's safe.
That's true. I mean, but then again, where did they live?
Probably like a rich part of LA, so probably like Brentwood or something.
Yeah, so like I
didn't think they had break-ins in Brentwood.
I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate. It sucks. I feel like they definitely need a little bit more protection, but I do think that people should be careful and be wary on where they live. I feel like in that case, you should probably live in a gated community, or maybe live somewhere where you're in the cut where somebody can't get to you. I don't know.
What would you do?
Me, I'm a very private person, so ideally I would like to be somewhere in the mountains and the trees where it's like you have to get on the road, main road to a little side road, and then to get to my house is another road which takes you at least 5 minutes. And around I can at least have some like crazy sensors or some video cameras so I can see you and then be like, yo, you can't come here. Because like I feel like as long as you're away from people, the more you're away from people, the less attention that you can seek. And I don't know, like I feel like, not saying they're asking for it because I don't want to sound like that person, but it's just like you're kind of a target. You're putting yourself out there. You know people are hungry in this time. People want money and they see that you got all this jewelry and stuff. So, like, be more careful.
Interesting. Wouldn't you be afraid, though? Like, if something happened, you'd pretty much be by yourself and you'd be screwed?
That's why I would have more protection.
Serial killer, medical accident, you're by yourself. A fire, you'd be trapped in the hills, essentially. That doesn't scare you?
No. Because I feel like those chances are like, I don't know.
Slim to none?
Yeah. But, I mean, I guess, like, I could, like, be off-road and then fall into a ditch somewhere. Who can find me? That would suck. Hopefully I got OnStar.
A bear tries to eat you, you're like, oh, shit. I didn't know bears were in this neighborhood. I would have never moved in here.
As long as it's not a grizzly bear.
That's
and
true.
I have some pepper spray or like a bear spray.
You really think that bear
No,
mace
not bear.
works?
They have these bear sprays because I go up north all the time to go camping. They have these bear sprays that are like size of air horns that you spray at those things. But like,
I feel like that don't work. It would just piss them off.
I mean,
it would just like kill you harder.
If it's not a grizzly, if it's a grizzly, you're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. But if it's like a black bear or a red bear, they're pretty skittish, from experience. I haven't came across one. I've seen a few in person, and they're. You
were far enough away to see it.
I was far enough away. I was driving.
Okay, cool.
I was driving. When I was up there with my family, we experienced 3 bears. My godbrother experienced it while I was down the creek upstream. Up the creek fishing with my goddad, my uncle, and my godbrother experienced that. But then when I was driving back home, it looked like a dead bear, looked like a dead mom, and then on the side there was like a little teenage bear on the other side.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So it looked like it just got hit by like a big rig. But from what it's like, they're pretty skittish because we always have like dogs around us and stuff. So as long as they see the dogs and the dogs are barking, then they get like, oh shit, we gotta go. So I mean, I wouldn't be really worried about animals and stuff. I worry about people more in like these instances where people get robbed and stuff. You know, like I'm just pretty secretive. I'd rather just be in the cuts. Like you will have. It will take a while for you to get to me. And if you're like a serial killer and stuff, then hello, be my guest because I'm going to have some booby traps for that ass.
Damn.
I would be dumb if I didn't have booby traps and I lived in the forest. Like, I would be really dumb.
Got like a plank that'll drop you 20 feet into a hole that gets you
I would have like bear
to death.
I would have like bear traps and like little like.
You would use the bears to your advantage.
Yeah. I would be like, oh, like little traps. I'll get people. Try to fuck with me.
You would have somebody you would just have somebody step on like a bush by accident. They just get pelted in the face with a bunch of honey, and now you're just like, oh shit, the bear's gonna.
Oh, not even that. I'm talking about a real bear trap. Like you walk in there and clamp. Oops, excuse me, like clamp.
Damn.
Yeah.
Hit the mic on that one.
Yeah, get an ankle, get a little something.
You're losing that leg. It's not coming with you.
No, yeah, you gonna
those
lose
nerve
something.
endings are gone.
Yeah. No, serious. I'm that type of person. Like, if you're gonna fuck with me, all right, fuck with me. But I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna leave a mark to make sure that I'm gonna remind you that why you shouldn't have fucked with me. I'm that type of person. Because I'm a little guy, you know? People, I feel like...
So you're like the black female version of Liam Neeson?
I don't want to say Liam Neeson because he's a racist.
Yeah, it's worse. Okay, you're like Colombiana, but better? You're like Black Widow, but you're actually black?
Yeah, I guess. No. Because, I mean, I guess so.
You're like
because
Lana
she does
from
a lot.
Archer?
Because she does a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I like jiu-jitsu. Like, I would love to learn jiu-jitsu and, like, learn how to, like, say if somebody was trying to fuck with me, they're coming behind me, I could take their arm and fucking put them in an arm bar or fucking... I want to do some shit like that.
So you're Ronda Rousey?
Kind of. I guess so, yeah, like Cyborg or something. I don't know.
Actually, not Ronda. You gotta pick a Brazilian fighter, because Ronda Rousey got her ass
I want to say Cyborg is pretty badass, by the way. But, like, yeah, like...
I picked Nunes, or the current champ. I think Correa? I don't know.
But yeah, no.
Pick a Brazilian fighter.
I'd rather be that. I think that's cool. Because, like, I think people expect me to have, like, oh, my God, I'm so scared. Let me have a gun or something to protect me, or pepper spray, you know? Like, I want somebody to think, like, oh, I'm a damsel in distress. And then they get me, I'm like, ha, bitch, like, I got your ass, nigga. What's good now? Like, that would bring me the most joy in my life. To prove somebody wrong, they think one thing, and I got them completely different. That's what I want.
Roll call. Damn.
That's what I want.
School is in session. Okay.
And I feel like a lot of women should be like that. They should not feel like they need a weapon and feel like because men are physically strong. Use that to your advantage. That's what they do in jiu-jitsu and all the other stuff. You use the person's movement in their body to your advantage.
But you talking about like getting a bear trap and severing someone's tendon and shit?
I'm saying that, and I'm saying like, you know, doing martial arts, but also too, yes, I would love to protect myself in ways that are pretty clever and people wouldn't think about. Because if people will automatically think like, oh, she's gonna have a gun. I don't want to use that as my first line of defense. I want to have all type of defenses, like a kind of like a zombie apocalypse. Like you're gonna have all type of defenses before you have to use your gun, right? Because you don't want to have to use your gun. You want to
it makes noise,
right?
And prints,
right?
And witnesses.
It makes noise, and then you're putting yourself in that position. Like you want
to
get
rid of the gun now.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you don't have to do anything physically. So I'm gonna make sure I can just put things around, and you try to fuck with me, and then I have something for you.
Shout out to Ryan. She agrees with you totally.
Right?
She wishes she had a unique set of skills.
Right? I mean, like you gotta like. I feel like with men think they expect it. They think like, oh, like, you know, they're probably gonna have a knife, pepper spray, or something because they feel like they can't protect themselves.
Or the shits with the knuckles on them, with the car keys.
Oh yeah, brass knuckles and car keys. Like, yeah, that would. I mean, if I had the skill to suck the shit out of somebody with a brass knuckle, that would be cool too. But I feel like it's
not a skill. That's just having brass knuckles and knocking the shit out of somebody.
But like having that hook or that jab, but. Because I'm not a boxer. So some boxing classes? Yeah, like right. I'm not a boxer. So if I'm able to just bring it out, pop.
Are you really just living out a fantasy where you go to a sporting event and beat the fuck out of somebody? This is what it sounds like.
Not a sporting event. I just like...
Sounds like you would beat somebody up in the parking lot of a Chargers game.
If someone tried to fuck with me, that's the thing. Like, I'm not looking for it, but if someone tries to think like, oh, you're a little guy, shut the fuck up, you're a little guy, you can't do shit, then I'm like, you know what?
If someone called you a little girl versus a little guy, what would offend you more?
Little girl, for sure. For sure, because it makes me not. Because I'm a woman. I know like I said, I'm little, but I'm. But
the little thing hurts.
But and once you say little girl, oh, you trying to say like I'm just this? No, you know what I mean? Like no, I will probably lose it. Yeah.
When you ran track in high school, was there ever a moment where you were like the person you were racing was talking shit, and you're like, I will beat you up after this event is over?
Yes.
Even if you're faster than me.
Yes and no. I'm gonna say no because the people that I ran with, they weren't really like that. And plus, I ran with people in the hood, so I knew I was about to scrap. So it wasn't like I was looking for
we had to fight afterwards anyway for some dumbass reason.
So I don't want to nah. They weren't really. A lot of girls weren't really like talking shit. They knew they were the shit. I just walked in high school, so a lot of the girls I was running against, what they're running in like. You know, since middle school, elementary school. So those girls were already making records and shit. But they weren't really like that. Surprisingly.
Interesting. I feel like we learned a lot about you this episode.
Yeah.
So to make this official, we're gonna do the rants, then the show. Did I cover everything?
Did we?
I feel like we covered mostly everything. John Madden turned 89.
Really? He's still alive?
Okay, first off.
I'm sorry.
He said, is he still alive? I mean, is he not supposed to? You don't know say. Wow. 89, yeah. I mean, I don't even play Madden no more. I think he lost the rights to Madden like a while ago too. I don't think he cared.
I mean, who really plays Madden? You do?
I mean, I don't play anymore, but the door's right there behind
Sorry.
you. It was a pleasure working with you. I wish you I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors.
I mean, like seriously, like
you're gonna piss off everyone who works at the Good News.
I'm sorry, like everybody like plays 2K now. I feel like everyone like 2K is like over in Madden. I know people still play Madden, but a lot of people like
been trash for a couple of years.
But like people have been really on for the last few years. I've been seeing NBA 2K dominate.
That's true.
Sports game. That's what
Cats be playing 2K, but don't actually have a jumper.
I remember when I was in high school, like Madden was the shit. Now that I know, I remember everybody had to get like the newest Madden. 2K wasn't that much, but as soon as I got to college around like 2011, 2012, I noticed that everybody had to cop NBA 2K. So that's why I made that comment.
That's fair. That's fair.
So please forgive me, guys. Forgive me. Good News. I haven't.
Someone's gonna be mad at you. I don't know who.
I haven't heard a lot of people, like lately or for the past few years, go out and say, I'm waiting to cop the new Madden. I've only heard people say, I can't wait to cop the new 2K because of the updates and the graphics. I apologize, guys.
She's sorry that you didn't know.
I'm not hating on you guys. I don't want to sound like that person. I'm just saying from experience. That's all.
She's sorry that you still live in the Stone Ages. Fun fact, for a science experiment in the 7th grade, when I was forced to do the science fair by my school, I did a project and I used some styrofoam and I found different ways to power a car. I used air. I used letting water out of a balloon. I think I did some shit with some fire. It was kind of cool.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
When I cared about school.
You sound like a real smart guy.
Thank you. And I remember one of the wheels on the car, I used just random CD discs. I used some scratched up CD discs, and then one of them I used Madden 2004, and it came out probably a month or two ago.
What was that on the regular PlayStation or PS2? Oh.
PS2 with Michael Vick on it, and I remember the first time I played Madden, it was a horrible experience.
When he had the memory cards.
Yep, I got waxed by my father's stepson, 100-0.
Ooh.
I had never played Madden before, and he knew I didn't know what I was doing, so he just kept scoring. And he had the Ravens and I had the Falcons, so that's why it was embarrassing. And I was like, I'll never get beat this bad again in my life. And then, I developed a hatred for him, man. But anyway, enough about me. But yeah, somebody stole that Madden 2004 disc off my science fair project. And my teacher was like, wow. And people in the class were like, you should have known someone was going to steal it. I was like, dog, it had glue on it. It was scratched. He was like, niggas don't care.
They will find a way.
I was like,
that's the one thing about, shout out to niggas in the hood, because they find a way. For example, they got birds. They got the little bird scooters in the hood now, and I'm like,
oh, I hate that. I hate that gentrification.
That's how you know gentrification is about to happen. But
don't do drive-bys on those scooters.
But you know what's funny though? I'm pretty sure there's gonna be at least a few niggas out there to take those scooters, jailbreak them, take the GPS thing off, and take it off and keep it as their own.
If you can jailbreak an ankle bracelet, you can jailbreak one of those.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a lot of them stolen.
Should I delete this part of the episode out?
Oh, sorry, I'm not trying to snitch. I'm not trying to shit.
It's not snitching.
I'm not snitching or I'm not trying to give the game away, but I'm just saying I'm saying shout out because they think that there's no
shout out to the innovation of the hood.
Innovation. There's no engineers within the hood, and most of us are in here.
Most of us are entrepreneurs. Most of us are MacGyvers.
Yes, so that's
a bunch of MacGyvers walking around.
We're keeping Nip's energy alive in here. We're keeping that going. The marathon continues, guys.
Yep. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go first. Go ahead. Get your rant off.
I'll get my rant off.
You're unnecessary. Tough. This is a part of the show called Unnecessary Toughness where Pete and I usually go on rants. But since Pete's not here and he had to get some stuff done this week, you can go first.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess the only thing that's been on my mind this week is what baffles me is the leniency of, not the leniency because a lot of people have called him out for it, but there's been also surprisingly a lot of leniency on Kodak and his problematic comment that he said about Lauren London. So I don't know if you guys know, but basically I guess Kodak was on Instagram Live and he was talking to his homies in the studio or something like that, and I guess Nipsey became a topic of discussion. And he was just saying oh, I'm sad for bro, blah 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 blah, and basically was saying within, I guess, basically saying oh, I know that Lauren London is grieving, but she a widow now, and she has a shoulder to cry on, but I give her a year. And there has been a lot of celebrities like T.I., Big Boy from the radio station, a lot of radio stations in LA and I guess other states. I don't know about that, but there's been a lot of people to call out against Kodak and like the game as well. They called him out and told him to like stop with disrespecting. You need to apologize. And then Kodak came back with like a fake apology. He was just like, "Oh, I'm sorry to Lauren London if I disrespected her, even though I didn't." So it was kind of like a fake apology, and he shouldn't have even said anything if he was going to say that in the first place. But I'm just kind of upset at the leniency and how people are just saying like, "Oh, I don't really see a problem with it." There's a lot of problems, but here's the two things. One, I don't want to sound like a whole feminazi over here, but it just kind of makes women seem like we're like objects and like, oh, well, we're up for grabs because, you know, she's a fine actress and I guess that's what she's there. She's there for my liking. And it's like, yo, dude, you're disgusting. Who made you think, first of all, that you can just... she's just up for grabs like that, and you have the ability to, you know, be able to do whatever you want to her. And two, it goes back to, you know, what people were talking about, you know, with these whole conspiracies. Let the family mourn in peace. You know, what his topic and what he said is just problematic, and I feel like not a lot of people understand respect anymore in our society because of social media. We feel like, oh, well, you know, we have social media, we have this platform, I'm able to speak and say what I want to say, but it's like, yo, there should be a line drawn in the sand, and what he said was just disrespectful, and it's not just to Lauren, but just to Nipsey and his family, and just the whole grieving process. Like, you could have said those comments, but you didn't have to say it. You know what? You haven't said those comments. You should have kept those comments to yourself. You should have kept about how you felt about Lauren London to yourself. Like, we get it. She is a fine, beautiful woman, and right now, I guess, because Nipsey is past, I guess she's supposedly single. I don't know. But right now, she just lost a loved one, and for you to just talk about how she's up for grabs, like, and thinking about that, like, no one's thinking about that right now. People are grieving. So just going back to let people mourn in peace, you know? And it's just unfortunate that people, you know, going back to what we said about entitlement, people feel like because they have this money and they have this status, that they have this certain entitlement about, you know, they can say what they want to say. And, it's just very unfortunate that there's people behind him, backing him up, saying, oh, people are blowing him up. What about when he said stuff about black people? We should have canceled him. Yeah, we should have canceled him then. And I do feel like he should have been canceled. But also, we need to take this situation very seriously, too. Because if you feel like this wasn't that bad, then you need to look at yourself and review yourself as well and your idea of respect, because there's times to joke around, and right now, like I said, this is sensitive. He just passed 2 weeks ago. This was a person who had a huge impact in LA, in the community, hip-hop community, and for him to just feel like he can just upright be like, oh, you know, yeah, sorry for London, but I'll hit that in a year. I'll try to hit that in a year. It's like, what the fuck, bro? Like, you're a disgusting piece of shit, you know? You're fucking... Somebody called him a gremlin roach something. Like, people have been going in on him recently, and for those people, shout out to them. And Kodak, I used to fuck with you. Obviously, you probably won't care because you're probably still gonna make money, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But if you hear this, which you probably won't, you're a piece of shit for that. And fuck your fake-ass apology. And for all the people out there as well, backing them up, you guys really need to learn respect and what that means. Sorry for that tangent. Or not sorry for that tangent, but yeah. I'll see you. Kenny.
That was a hell of a walk-off. If you got a dip,
R.I.P. Nip. No, I'm still here, but I'm just
All right.
in and off as that note because R.I.P. Nip. Like I said, I was able to witness some ratchet, beautiful black hood stuff today in LA, and it brought me back to Oakland. I just thought that, man, it was amazing to see all these people come together to celebrate one man's life and how he really had the city behind him. And just, R.I.P. Nip, like they said, marathon continues. When I get there, when I make that success and I'm big and whatnot, I'm gonna do that victory lap for him, because I remember this moment, and this was such a sad but also memorable moment for a great life like Nip. So R.I.P. Nip.
That's what's up. That's what's up. All right. Wow, it's kind of really hard to follow up, but yeah, this is why I'm thankful that we allow ourselves to swear on this podcast. Because some of the things I got to say, that I'm about to say, just aren't really reserved for, the radio waves that, like, the FCC sponsors. So, I agree with everything you said about Kodak. But I'm going to take it one step further. He needs his ass beat. And honestly, I think he should never be allowed in LA again. Sorry, I muted your mic, but... No. Okay, alright. So, he should never be allowed in LA again. You don't say shit like that. Like, LA was really sensitive for about... Shit, till this day. You saw how quick everybody united. LA was about 2 seconds away from exploding in the days after, like, that first week. Man, it was tight being on the 210. It was, and I don't mean tight like cool. Like, shit was tight. I had my hoodie on and my headphones in, and I was definitely looking out both sides of the window on the bus, because bullets don't have no names. And shit was wild. They blocked off Crenshaw and Slauson for a cool minute because the block was hot. The block was very hot. It's still hot, if we're going to be honest. And the fact that Kodak, who said a bunch of problematic stuff already, and already admitted that he hates himself and other dark-skinned women, it's like, your mom was probably a crackhead, or a side chick, some bummy, no good side chick, and your daddy is probably a bummy, no good nigga. And I don't even like saying that word anymore, but when I think of a nigga, Kodak Black comes to mind, and people like him, and people like the piece of shit that murdered Nipsey Hussle, which I still think was bigger than just some hood stuff. Like, no, he's an informant, he's a CI, therefore the government is involved. Therefore the government had something to do with Nipsey dying, even though the government also was the one investigating his case. But okay, whatever. We'll never really know. But all I know is, if they try to buy up property on Crenshaw and Slauson, which they are now going to name after him, his first name, which is good. They're going to name it, that whole square, after him, which is perfect, which is what they should do. Sorry, I had the hiccups. Pete's somewhere laughing. Indigestion. Shut up, Pete. Yeah, man, I shouldn't say this, but I already said it off the air a while ago. Honestly, if somebody snuffed Kodak Black for what he said, I wouldn't even feel bad. If somebody, like, I hate to say it, but if somebody killed you for what you said, Kodak Black, you really have no one to blame but yourself. And we don't need more death, but I'm sorry, saying shit like that after a man like him died this quick, that's a murderable offense. And you know he's a rolling 60? Are you stupid? Like, all gangbangers love Nipsey. You understand. That's the problem with these. I guess it's a generation. It really is a generation of cats, though, that don't respect anything or anybody. And that's dangerous. That's why XXXTentacion was set up and murdered, and people were recording him bleeding to death. And apparently, like, Nipsey had some last words for the dude who shot him, And that's why the dude went back and shot him. Probably called him a bitch-ass nigga and said, you missed. You aimed just like your father. If you even, I don't know, who knows what he would have said. But knowing what kind of person Nip was, when I think about when he was talking that famous Instagram post where he said he would slap the shit out of that white dude just because of slavery on the plane. He said, you bitch, you're not even in first class. Yeah, you probably said some real shit. But, yeah, man, it's weird. The energy, like, I feel like LA's healing itself slowly but surely, and I feel like if more and more kids say they want to grow up to be like Nipsey Hussle and own businesses, and yeah, they do their music or whatever, they find love and their passion, their skill set, whatever it is, but they also want to buy back the block. That's fantastic, because we need that. We need, especially for black people, we really need some economic stability, and we need to start turning that around, because we're kind of in dire straits out. There's a group, black people are broke. Like, the numbers already say it. Like, you take out, you could throw in Oprah, Jay-Z, all those rich people, black people are worth 2.6% of the nation's wealth. The entire nation. And we own virtually no land. And like 2% of the wealth that black people own is from baby boomers. So somewhere's just sitting around waiting for another black person to die so you can inherit all their shit. And the other 0.6% is me, Serve, Ryan in the chat room, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Kodak Black's dumbass, everybody. Like, we are broke collectively as a people, financially. So I'm hoping that we are more fiscally responsible, and most importantly, man, spread love and support and stop with this goofy shit. Like, we need to really develop a code. Impoverished people need to develop a code. Black people in particular. Because this was like a black person killed another black person. Whether it was a white hand who set it up, a black person killed another black man in front of his place of business. You realize, like, Nipsey gave to the hood more than the hood ever did for him. If we're really being honest. That's what's crazy. Like, so, I just want to say, peace and love to everybody, man. Y'all stay safe. The graduation countdown is now at like a month. I'm so tired. I really haven't had a day off in like a month. I'm probably going to quit one of my jobs. I need a day off. I'm dying of sleep deprivation. Shit is wild. Like, I asked Keith like 3 questions. I asked Keith the same question 3 different times. Like, before we got on the air. And he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, no, nigga, I'm tired. But anyway. So. With that being said, thanks everybody for listening, who was listening. Thank you, Ryan, in the chat room. I said Ryan, don't kill me, Ryan.
Oh, it's my mic. Oh, my mic's on. Oh, thank you for everybody for letting me, or for listening to me. You know, it's my first time being on the show for the whole entirety. So, you know, it was pretty cool.
And now that we know you're like a miniature Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and Julian Assange, you may not like him, but he did the work of a journalist, and he's paying the price for it. And, yeah, can't wait to have Mancini on so he can talk about this. But I'm not going to go into a deep dive about Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. But just know information isn't free. So you might want to act on the information you do have. We love you. We cherish you. And, yeah, man.
Be safe
Touchdowns and tangents. If there's anything you can do for this podcast, for this broadcast, critique it, man. Like, give us your honest opinion, what you think. Rate us on iTunes, please. Any app that you're on, you can probably find Touchdowns Attendance. Rate us. Give us your honest opinion, good, bad, or indifferent, whatever. It'll help us. And thank you to our affiliates. Obviously, Good News Radio. Obviously, full press coverage. Shout out to Terry, Obi, the whole crew. Full press coverage, Raiders. Shout out to our wonderful, wonderful affiliates out in Atlanta. We love you. We appreciate you. Stay up. And most importantly, the marathon continues.
The marathon continues. I'm repeating it.
And Magic Johnson quit on the Lakers.